Well, hey there, guys, and good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are, and welcome back to another episode playing Factorio. If you don't remember last episode, we started working on our small starter base here. Took us a while to get all of these arrays set up, but we did get them set up in the end, and basically that's about it. It took a long time to do it. But either way, without further ado, I'm just going to get right back into working on our base, and I will catch up with you guys as I go along. So, let's do this. So guys, hopping pretty much straight in from where we left off. The first thing I started doing today was crafting more steam engines, boilers, fast inserters, etc., so that I could expand and ultimately fill in the rest of the steam engine electricity network that we started building last episode. If you don't remember, I sort of started explaining some of the stuff to do with ratios in this game, with one of the important ratios being the 1 to 20 to 40 ratio with the steam engines. I'm not going to explain it again for the people who were here last time, like in detail. I'm just going to say one offshore pump can power 40 steam engines to create electricity, which is about 36 megawatts, which is a pretty decent amount for the early game. But I didn't have the iron before to finish it off, and I'm going to be doing some expansions today that are going to require, safe to say, quite a decent chunk of electricity to work. I believe, to be fair, the electricity we had might have been enough to support everything I ended up setting up in the end, but I wanted to be on the safe side, and I also, to be fair, just wanted to complete it for the sake of having it done. But either way, as you can see, I quickly filled in the boilers and steam engines. I fill in the inserters later and get it all up and running. So I'm gonna leave you guys to see me update in our electricity network, and I will catch you in a bit for some pretty major upgrades to our base. So let's do this. So guys, as you can see, after finishing up with the steam engine array, I came back down to where our iron was being processed and started to expand that by adding another, I believe it was 10 furnaces in with fast inserters this time, and I believe I do later replace the old inserters with fast inserters as well. And the reason for this is because I was about to make some pretty hefty expansions and upgrades to our base, which I realised I would probably need quite a bit of iron for. And I was right, I did need a lot of iron for it. The problem with this current design though is to do with how the iron was being split. It wasn't really being shared evenly between the furnaces, and in all honesty it still isn't, but it is more efficient now than it was before. I probably will make some changes to it later on still, but as you can see, I started removing all of the chests with iron, just to make space really. And as I said, I replaced all of the inserters with fast inserters. And once this little array is done, you'll quickly see what I mean when I say I made some big upgrades. I don't know why I know why I'm waiting. It's because I'm waiting for more inserters to graft, so I don't have to worry about them not being in my hand anymore and suddenly dropping them. You may be noticing on the map as well, actually, that there is a lot of pollution. Not something I'm particularly worried about right now, but I'm sure it won't be a problem later. But either way, here you can see what I mean when I keep saying that I'm going to do some pretty big upgrades. So, you may remember last episode, I may or may not have mentioned something about an idea called a main bus design within Factorio, a way to build your base. And you may or may not remember me saying that I wasn't going to do one because it's the starter base and we don't need the starter base to be particularly efficient in that way. You may be noticing right now that I'm building a main bus design. Yeah, I decided to do one. They're easier to manage, in my opinion, and so I'm just gonna do it. Can always change the design later in like future bases and upgrade it, but it's just, I know a lot of like, I'm gonna show you some like footage up on screen, I know, of one of my other my other factory that I have been working on the side a little bit, and you will see how spaghettified my factories very quickly get if I don't do some kind of management system, and hence why the main bus design is coming into play. But anyway, I digress. If you don't remember from last time, a main bus basically means all of your main ingredients will go down the middle of your factory in these massive conveyor belts. I've chosen to do a 4 wide one. A specific reason for that actually, it's because, as you can see here, the distance that these yellow inserters can go is 4 tiles. And there's 2 tiles in between each conveyor belt, again, because of the fact that the like underground belts, they go 4 tiles, then they come back up, which takes 1 tile, go back down, which takes the 2nd tile, and then you can do the next 4. So to make it the most space efficient, 4 tiles wide for each big chunk of belts, and 2 tiles between them. But as you can see, the first 2 materials I got in here were the iron plates and the iron gears, I believe they're called. I do eventually get copper and I believe electronic circuits involved later on, and I am looking to expand it again later. But yeah, I'm gonna let you just watch the monstrosity of me trying to build this up in a good looking way and an efficient way, and I will catch in with you guys when some major advancements are made. So without further ado, I'll see you in a bit. Let's do this. So guys, coming in and expanding our main bus system a bit, I kind of wanted to go over some of the thoughts I had whilst designing it. So as you can see, one of the first things I did after having the iron plates and iron gear set up was divert them both off and sort of be able to create more belts automatically with the crafters. Saves me from having to manually craft all these belts because it is a lot of belts. And then I decided to divert the copper away instead of just having to go into a chest, come into the main bus, and I'm also just heading through quickly, swapping out all the inserters for fast inserters, speed up copper production a bit, because if I remember correctly, I'm about to, with all the crafters I'm making in my inventory there, I'm about to start working on something very copper and, to be fair, quite iron intensive as well, because there's one last main ingredient I decide to add into the main bus for now. Like I said earlier, I am planning on adding some more later, but the last ingredient I added for now is the circuits, and the circuits use a lot of copper. And I mentioned briefly ratios earlier with the 1 to 20 to 40, and when I introduced them last episode I said you'd hear a lot about them. This is the next ratio, it's time for it. Because of the, what am I even doing? Oh yeah, I came back down and actually quickly tried to rebalance the iron a bit, because I noticed there's some iron deficiencies going on in some parts of the bus. It didn't work. I think it's just a case of gonna need to get more iron, but as I was saying, it's time for the next ratio. So because of the speeds at which they, at least I think it's the speeds at which they produce, I don't entirely know off the top of my head exactly the maths of why this particular ratio works so well, but to make copper, or to make these circuits, you need copper, wire and iron, and because I believe of something to do with the speeds at which these items produce, this sort of crafting tree exists in the ratio of 3 crafters making copper wire, makes the wire at the perfect rate to supply 2 crafters making circuits. So they exist in a 3 to 2 ratio, and this is actually really nice and really easy to work with, because of the fact that when you bulk craft stuff in your hand in this game, you craft it in batches of 5. So if you're making crafters for an array like this, you just make 5 crafters, because that's 3 and then 2, so it's the 3 to 2 ratio for you. Initially I had a weird pattern in mind of setting this up, as you can see. I ended up just going with a line because it was easier, but essentially the way you have it set up efficiently is you have the 3 crafters making the wire out front. At least this is how I always do it. You have the 3 crafters making the copper wire out front, and they're fed by this line of copper that goes past it all. They make the wire, then there's inserters that automatically feed that into the crafters for the circuits, rather than putting them on a belt and having them transport somewhere else. It just makes it more space efficient with where all the crafters are and such. And then you'll have the iron come by, using the underground belts to go and bypass this copper belt, and that just goes straight up against the crafters making the circuits, and then the iron is fed into those, and then iron and copper are both fed into the machine to make the circuits, which late game you're going to need to be mass producing anyway, so it's good to have them as part of your bus system. Like I said, I don't know why I was trying to make it in that particular pattern there when I was, because that is just like grossly inefficient to say the least. Well, not even just that it's grossly inefficient, it just doesn't work. It doesn't fit with the space. So like I mentioned earlier, I end up realizing this soon, I believe, and scrapping this plan and thinking, oh no wait, I go for a different plan first, but I end up scrapping this plan and realizing, oh wait, this ain't gonna work. I will need to do something else if I am wanting to get this, functioning. So yeah, I end up doing it in a line and then having all of the circuits produced within this system run off into the main bus and then they go off into the distance. I believe that's the last main ingredient I add to the bus today, but I will be, I'm planning on adding both steel, made from iron, and stone to the bus later, because they're both very useful, obviously, but then more significantly, I can start mass producing rails with those, which will be probably coming into play quite a bit next episode. But either way, setting up the modules here, I ended up setting up, I believe, 5 lots of these. I originally wanted to set up 3 lots of them, because I wanted to do 9 to 6, so 15 with the ratio. Ended up accidentally crafting 5 lots of the bulk crafting for each, for the crafters, which is 5 times 5, which is 25, hence why there's 5 lots of it. But like I said, you need to mass produce them anyway, so it's better to get it sorted in the long run. Ended up using both fast inserters and long arm inserters, I believe, in order to get them balanced onto belts more efficiently, in a sense. But without further ado, I'll let you guys just check in with me finishing this off, and I'll catch back up with you in a minute when we get into a little bit more of a mess with ratios, because don't you think we're done yet? But either way, I'll let you get on with this and I'll catch in with you later. Let's do this. So guys, coming through here with yet another offshoot from our main bus, and this is where I start working on something to do with the second main ratio of today's episode. You may have seen in the last episode and throughout this episode as well, we've been doing research using the science packs, and previously I was just very inefficiently making the red ones with the crafters automatically and putting them into these 2 science machines that we currently have running. But I am planning on expanding that now and also making the second type of science pack, which I never remember the name of it, so I just call it the green one. This is the red one, that's the green one. And this is where the next ratio comes in, because if you want to make them relatively balanced, there's a ratio to it to do with how fast they're made. The ratio in this particular one, I don't know off the top of my head what it is for every single type of science, but for this particular type with the red and green ones, it is 5 red sciences to 6 green sciences makes it balanced. So what I've done is I've set up 10 red science crafters, and I'm going to set up 12 green science crafters. But to make the green science, oh no, they found us. So it was actually at this moment that I realized my pollution has consequences. Thankfully, I didn't lose anything major in the forms of one of our big mining arrays, but this is actually where the sort of second main part of Factorio's gameplay comes in. The bugs. The pollution upset them a little bit. They came and attacked, and they started destroying my stone mining area. So I just set up a gun turret around it, and I set up a few more throughout the episode where I realized, oh no, the bugs are attacking there. But either way, getting back to what I was saying about the green science, I believe it was, unlike the red science where it's pretty simple to make, you just need the iron gears and the copper plates, 2 relatively simple resources, not both basic because of the iron gears, but both very easily available and plentiful. The green science, on the other hand, requires 1 yellow belt and 1 yellow inserter to make the science pack. So I was going to need to start producing yellow belts and yellow inserters. I started with the yellow belts because they use less resources, just iron plates and iron gears, diverted them off yet again, and basically built the exact same system as the first one I had, using the 6 crafters, all the inserters and such. Just didn't have it go off into a chest this time, because these ones were going to go off to make the science packs, and so I didn't want to be diverting them away from that. So yeah, I set all of this up. I actually quickly realized that I may potentially have a bit of an iron plate shortage. It's not too much of a problem right now, but it probably will get there later, to be honest. But for now, I just sort of adjusted how my furnace array was working with the distribution of the iron ore slightly. Hasn't fixed the problem, but has somewhat improved the situation. Probably next episode I'm going to start working on like train tracks and the like, and we'll hopefully start being able to work on some outposts and having the ability to ship iron in from other ore veins and the like across the world, because this one is also going to very rapidly run out of iron if we're not careful. But yeah, I'm going to quickly go and adapt that furnace array. I'll let you guys watch that and I'll catch up with you in a bit. So let's do this. So guys, as you can see, when I came over here and started working on the crafting area to make the inserters, unlike with the yellow belts, I set up 12 crafters rather than 6. This isn't because of some kind of ratio, although one probably exists out there, I'm going to be honest. This was more because of the fact that I wanted to divert half of them, so 6 of them, off to make the green science, just like the 6, lots of yellow belts, and the other half I wanted to divert off into, for now, it'll be into a chest, because like the yellow belts, inserters are very useful, this time more as an ingredient than anything though, and I will probably, to be fair, split that output, most likely using some kind of 1-to-3 splitter, and then have 2/3 of it divert off to make, for now, fast inserters, and 1/3 of it go off to make long arm inserters, because they are going to be more useful for me in the long run. But either way, with that setup, I now had a way, well, I say a way, I had a chunk or a module set up within the factory along our main bus that could be making these inserters for us, and with that I had modules making both inserters and the yellow belts, so I had enough to make the green science. But I would still need to divert all of this into an area to make the science, and then set up all 12 crafters, which is what I'm going to do next. And once that's done, I will catch back in with you to talk about what I do with all of the science packs once they are produced. So let's do this. So guys, now that I had my green science up and running with production, it was just a matter of transferring it back over and across all of our belts along the main bus, and then reconnecting it with the line of the red science so that I could have just one belt. Half of it has green science, half of it has red science. Obviously I will need to add more belts later as more types of science come into the picture, but for now this is all we need. And so now that I had that one belt set up, it was time to start working on the actual labs themselves. It's a pretty basic system, but instead of having like one massively long line with all of the science on it, I set up one that's only 5 labs long, because the labs can actually have the inserters take science from within them and pass it into another lab. So I set up like that, and then the inserter chains feed the entire system, and you can have science all just cooking up in there. But either way, I am going to set that up, and then I believe it'll be nearly time to call it for this episode. So let's do this. Well guys, looking at the time, that is going to have to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as you did last one. If you did enjoy, make sure to... Oh, I need to place the last of the belts on this bit. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, share my channel with your friends, do all of the normal YouTube stuff. Let me know what you thought down in the comments, and make sure to check back next time for more Factorio gameplay. Ooh. But without further ado, I will see you later. Bye bye.